Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. The final week of October, I believe. Yeah, by the time next week, it will already be November, in which it would be time for the countdown to Thanksgiving, the best holiday of all time. Well, not all time, but one of my favorite holidays. And there are some, movies out there that I would consider highly recommend that you watch, for one, and two, that would be considered Thanksgiving movies. Two of them I can name you right now. And they don't really necessarily revolve around the holiday of Thanksgiving, but they kind of give a nice Thanksgiving type of feel, and you kind of feel like, oh, this feels like Thanksgiving time. One is Scent of a Woman, starring Al Pacino. Now that one actually is more inclined to be a Thanksgiving movie because it takes place majoritively during the Thanksgiving holiday in the movie. Number two is not a Thanksgiving movie, but every single part of it to me feels like Thanksgiving, and that would be Rudy, the football movie with Sean Astin. That movie for me always has those Thanksgiving fall vibes that I think honestly just kind of play well together. It's not really the most It probably is not the best sports movie to ever be made, but it is a one that you can kind of watch and be like, oh, this feels right. Just because of, the season, it feels right. I'm not one to watch a ton of them all the time. Like, I don't normally just like sit down and plop on the couch and just watch them, every year. But, if you have them, or if they're on, maybe catch a little glimpse of them. It makes you feel more in tuned with the season, with the fall season. Was a big week this week. Not necessarily for like news or anything like that I would care about, but, things that happened this week. The past week, I should say. I think I mentioned maybe a few weeks ago when I was playing God of War Ragnarok that I was probably thinking about picking up the new Spider-Man 2 game. The new game that just came out last week. And I was thinking about it, if I should pick it up or not. And up until maybe 2 weeks ago, I was thinking to myself, you know what? I'm probably not going to get it at launch because although I did enjoy the first game that they made, the 2018 one, I enjoyed it quite a bit. But I was thinking to myself, like, I don't think I really need to pick up Spider-Man 2 at launch. I think I'll wait. And then, the more time went on, my friends and I would just be chatting, messaging and stuff like that. And they would be hyping up Spider-Man 2 a lot, actually. And I ain't gonna lie, the hype got to me. The hype really, really got to me. I was seeing people post about it. I was seeing people, getting early access. I was seeing people picking up the consoles. I was seeing people, just like kind of going crazy, about this game. And I was like, you know what? I'm kind of feeling this hype right here. I'm kind of feeling like the buzz around it. I don't know what it is, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just join the fun and play it day one, just like everybody else. So, you know what I did? I picked it up day one, and I played it, and honestly, bro, this new Spider-Man game is so dope is so lit. Like, I was a fan of the first one, like I said prior. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was a fun combat game with a very good story and very fun web swinging and very fun mechanics, and gameplay was sick. The graphics were cool, but it wasn't like a huge like eye opener for me. Like, I guess I had missed like the hype or something like that. Like, I didn't play it when it came out, obviously. I thought it was just like a very good solid video game, a very good solid Spider-Man game, until I played this one. And if people are asking me right now, like, if you want to know like my initial thoughts, I'm not going to spoil anything because I'm only about like maybe 8 or 10 hours into the game. But if you were to ask me, is this Spider-Man 2, is it better than the first one? I would say without a shadow of a doubt, absolutely yes. This game is superior to 2018 in many, many, many different ways. One way is graphics. Graphics are noticeably better. The game looks better, the game flows better, the game has good facial animations, it's got good, light tracing and water effects, and there's not that much clipping when it comes to like, things interacting with one another. The combat is very, very good. There's multiple ways of combat, more than the first one. At times it can be a little overwhelming because there's so much things that you can do in terms of combat. At least that's what I felt, was like there's like a few additions that are given to you on how to take out enemies, like in a fight, not like sneaking around, but like in a fight. And like there's a lot. Like, you kind of forget like how many different abilities that you have at some points and that you can use them because you're so focused on just like, at least for me, like I'm just like a brawler. Like, I just like to fight the guys, dodge them, fight them, just like fists, combat like that. But there's so many other different ways that you can kill like or beat up enemies, and take them out, that you don't really need to punch them all the time. So it's like the addition to that is great because it's like they really took the time to craft like all these different ways and special abilities that you have for your character. And it's like, dang, like this is such a massive upgrade compared to the first one. So that's one. The graphics, the combat, all elevated to 11. That really outdid the first one. The next thing that they really stepped it up, and this part, what I'm about to say, this level of elevation, of excellence, of what they did in this game, really makes me, feel like I'm actually Spider-Man, which is crazy because I haven't felt like that in a Spider-Man game since like what? Spider-Man 2 back in like 2004 or 2003. I can't remember when that came out, but the web swinging and the traversal of the map of New York City in this game is incredible. The web swinging, the tricks you can do, the way the city is designed, the way how you can just like jump through everything, wall running, web zipping, web swinging, it's unbelievable. And just it looks so good too that like it's just great. It's awesome. Like, I cannot believe, because they did it so well in the first game. I honestly thought that, how could they make this better, right? But they did. It just looks better, it feels better, and it's quite, incredible. Especially, the fact that you can play as both Peter Parker and Miles Morales is a great thing too. It's so much fun. And they have like different like quests and missions that you can do, and different suits obviously that you're able to unlock, and different special combat moves, which is just like it just adds so much variety and so much like on how you can play the game the way you want to. Like you can like main anybody and anybody, level up them both individually, whatever, however you want to do it. It's just so much fun. And I didn't play the Miles Morales game. I probably should have now that I thought about it because, when I first booted up the game, I did the recap and it tells you what happens in both games, and I saw like what happens in the Miles Morales game, and I completely forgot that even made that game, and I was like, oh shoot, I just saw what happened. Now I'm spoiled, but it was like still like, dang, like these games, Insomniac, PlayStation. I mean, this game is awesome. This game is awesome. Like, it delivers on every single form that it's ever, that you can achieve in a video game, I think. The gameplay is great. The web swinging, the combat, the story so far is awesome. It's evolved. Characters have evolved. They don't feel like the same from the first game. They feel completely different, and that time has passed. The villains, too, they're different as well, and it's just awesome. Like, it's such a fun game that I actually can't believe how much fun that I was having with this game. It is something that I was not expecting to be as fun as it is. Also, to the fact that when I'm playing this game, I was there day one. I got the launch edition. I was there when it came out. Zero bugs, zero glitches, zero problems with the game so far. Absolutely no problems with this game, and I take my hat to these guys who made the game. Like, I've played 2 new release games back to back, Starfield, which I have not finished yet, and now Spider-Man, and very, very minimal, if anything, no problems at all. And I just can't recommend it enough. If you've been on the fence about this, if you're thinking about it and you have a PlayStation, maybe you want to get it for a gift for somebody, maybe you want to just get the game or pick it up. Maybe pick it up on Black Friday or something like that when it's cheaper. I think that this game is a 100% recommendation to play. If you're looking for like a game to play at the moment, that's a story-driven game with great gameplay and a really fun game. Like, I think that Spider-Man 2 is like gotta be like the one to pick up right now. It's just so fun. Like, I can't believe how much better the game is from the first one. Like, it's unbelievable. It truly is unbelievable. And everything that's in it is designed so well, too. Like, the menu is cool. The UI is cool. The characters, like I said, both are awesome. Like, they totally, did not half-ass this game. And it shows that they actually cared. So, I gotta tip my hat. I gotta simp for Insomniac and PlayStation. They put out a game that actually feels like it deserves to be played by everybody. I don't think that anybody's going to play this and be like, that wasn't fun. Like, I just don't think that'll be even a thing. I think if you pick up a controller and play this game, you will at least have a little bit of fun. No, I don't think that anybody's going to pick up the controller and be like, this is not fun. I truly don't think that that's even possible. So if you're thinking about it, if you want to pick it up, if you've been hearing things, if you've been hearing me, if you've been listening to me, I totally think that you should pick up this game. It is incredible. It doesn't hold back. It's fun. The story is great. And you will feel, let me tell you this, you will feel like Spider-Man. Trust me. All right, moving on to movies. Saw a new movie this week. I've been waiting to see this since it was announced, since it was, brought up, since it was becoming a thing. The first time I heard about it was maybe about 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. I saw Killers of the Flower Moon. Killers of the Flower Moon this past weekend. The new Martin Scorsese picture, written and directed by him, directed by Martin Scorsese, written by Martin Scorsese and Eric Roth. Taking place in the early 1900s, a Western movie about the Osage tribe in Oklahoma, and it's actually a book first. It was based off a book. Let me give you a little synopsis of the film first. When oil is discovered in the 1920s Oklahoma under Osage Nation land, the Osage people are murdered one by one until the FBI steps in to unravel the mystery. So already, when you hear that synopsis and you hear that it's by Martin Scorsese, I'm already in. 100% in. Like Martin Scorsese, if you've ever dabbled into his films, and if you haven't, I highly, highly recommend that you do. Martin Scorsese has an incredible way of telling stories and telling the types of stories that he loves, which is like crime stories, crime, mob, and now Western, but mainly crime. It's all around crime. If you look at Casino, Goodfellas, The Departed, The Wolf of Wall Street, and now The Killers of the Flower Moon, all around crime. And what he's able to do in this movie and in previous movies before in the past is truly establish what is going on, and along with incredible performances, lay you out an epic of events that happens in this film and even in his past films, and completely suck you into this world and what is happening in this world. Now, this movie is long, time-wise. It's very long. It is 3 hours and 26 minutes long. I gotta tell you this, it didn't feel like it at all. It felt like it just flew by. And that's what I want to get to first before I truly break it down. This film is probably one of the most perfectly paced movies that I have ever seen. Putting it up with Oppenheimer, but this movie, for how long it is, and for how dense of the story that it is, and what happens, and every moment in this movie is very, very, very important to the story and what is happening with these characters. And there is probably not a better filmmaker to tell these stories and lay everything out. And from what I've heard, pretty much captured the book as best as they could in a 3.5 hour time period, and tell a compelling story, and with great characters, with a pretty big ensemble of characters and great side characters as well, and lay it all out and just really just nail everything about it, including the pacing and the runtime. Like, there is not a moment, I think, in this movie that is not important for everything. And I even said that about The Irishman. The Irishman is pretty close to how long Flower Moon is. It's pretty close to it. And like I said in that film, and I will say it again, there's not a moment wasted in this movie on the story. There's nothing wasted. There's no parts that I look at the movie when I look at it after I've seen it and think to myself, like, maybe they could have cut this out, maybe they could have cut that out, maybe this could have been a little bit more tighter. No, I don't think that whatsoever. I truly do think that he is the master at pacing his films and making them so enjoyable at the same time. And I think the reason that this is possible is to point number 2, and that is the actors and the performances of these actors. Leonardo DiCaprio in this movie, who plays Ernest Burkhead, is the lead in this film. And this might be his best role probably in his entire career. Like, the way he approaches the character, like not even like how you would like view Leo as just being a normal dude. Like, he completely transforms the way he looks, the way his mannerisms are, how he just like looks at people, how he looks at things, the faces that he makes, the way he delivers words. This is probably the best performance that he has been in for me since Wolf of Wall Street. I did not see The Revenant, so I didn't know if he was as good, or if he was as good as they said in that movie. I've not seen that film, but this to me is probably his best performance of his career. He just like completely becomes this character, and he plays it so well, and it's like almost like you don't even recognize this guy as being Leonardo DiCaprio, and it's incredible. I mean, another shout outs to Robert De Niro, who kills it as always. Him and Scorsese really are like a match made in heaven, in terms of the films that they've worked on. And I think that Leonardo DiCaprio is also starting to become one of Martin Scorsese's like go-to fellas, because he's also just incredible in everything that he's in as well. Another standout was Lily Gladstone. She plays the lead actress, Molly Burkhart, in this film. She's incredible as well. I mean, she's probably going to get nominated for, Best Actress just from this performance alone. She is so good in this movie. She's there like every step of the way. She doesn't, falter. It's not like no one really carries the movie. It's all supported by everybody who's acting in it. And that is why I think that this movie it just flows so well, is because there is so many characters. There's a big ensemble of characters in this movie that are, played by these great actors. Like I just said, DiCaprio, De Niro, Gladstone. Just to throw some people out that have already been in, that you've already seen, Jesse Plemons is in this movie, So it's so like acted so well that it's just like so gripping to watch. And there's not like a single performance I can think of that is like, this guy kind of sucked, or he was selling it there, or he wasn't giving it his all, or he kind of took me out of the movie. Like, there was none of that. There is like no bad performance that I could pick out in this movie to criticize and be like, yeah, this kind of brought the movie down. Like, I can't think of a single one that was in this movie that was a bad performance. Every single performance was great. And that to me is a big reason why this movie just works. Is not only the writing, not only the story itself, not just the directing, but everybody just makes you feel like, yeah, this is some serious stuff. And these actors are giving it their all. And it's funny because it's like, you can't even tell that they're acting. They're just acting so well that it just seems natural. I'm pretty sure I've said that before in the past, but it's true. Like, there is such thing as overacting. I've seen it. I've seen when actors try too hard. You can very well see it. This one is just like, everybody was so good. They're not trying to overdo it. They're not trying to overact, and it just works. It's just perfect. And I thought that was also a gigantic key for this movie to be so successful and so good as it was. And I think that, with having said all that, it truly does make like a lasting impact too. A lasting impact, because I had never heard of this story of the Osage Native Americans in my entire life. So this is like a brand new like thing that I've never even heard of. They were essentially like rich, very rich group of people, and people wanted to take advantage. And like I said in the synopsis, they were being killed, because they wanted the power and the control. At least, the people that were coming into, try to, take that land, get that oil. It's crazy how much it was like, so sacred to them, and they went to these crazy ways to get rid of these people so they can take control. But it's a crazy story to see like how that was all played out. I have not looked into it of what is like, what was, over exaggerated, or what was, swayed to make the movie, obviously. But, seeing how that's all played out, and seeing how, just how well everything worked on screen. I was just like blown away of how good this movie is. Like, I would highly recommend anybody, give this movie a shot because number one, it's a film that, that needs support. It would be nice for these guys to, to cash in on such hard work that I think that they fully deserve, to see this movie. And it's also just a good story. It's a good story to watch unfold and see how all this happened, and how it's all conveyed. That's another point. Like, the movie is conveyed so well in this time period that the production value and the set design, the costumes, and the props and all that, it was unbelievable the way it looked. And it's great now because, everybody's like, got that Western bug because of Yellowstone. So like, this is like a great movie. If you're like, obsessed with like Westerns and Yellowstone, like this would be like a great like movie for you to watch in theaters right now. So, take the trip to the local theater and go check out Killers of the Flower Moon for sure. I will say though, it does take up pretty much your entire day. I went to a Regal theater and the movie essentially is almost like 4 hours long because, previews before the movie and all that. And sometimes they don't really start the movie on time. So, it could, push you to like possibly 4 hours, being in a theater. So that might take up most of your day. But I think that it's still worth it. I think that it's a good movie. I think it's a great movie to go see and go, actually, really soak all in and get all that Scorsese cinema that you can possibly get, because this movie is cinema to me. Like, this movie is, without a shadow of a doubt, like one of the best movies that come out this year. I still think that I have Oppenheimer as my favorite movie this year, but I think that Killers of the Flower Moon would come in second for sure. Just because it's so well done and it's just a Scorsese masterpiece. I gotta say, like, his filmmaking is so dynamic and is so good, well paced and good. And I gotta say, like, this was probably his more like slower movies. Not like it's not like the same pace as Wolf of Wall Street, which is just an incredible like speed and ferocity and pace. This one's, much more slower because of the story slower, It's much more of a slower pace, but it's not like a slow movie. It's still a very, very well-paced movie. It's just like the stuff that happens is not as wild as what happens in The Wolf of Wall Street. Therefore, it's not as fast-flowing of a film. But still, like, you get that Scorsese filmmaking in there. If Scorsese's involved, I'm watching automatically. I'm watching it automatically. I cannot go another... I cannot miss another Scorsese film in theaters. I just can't. He is a gift to cinema and a gift to the art, in general, and a gift to the business, if I'm being completely honest. Like, this guy just makes films that he wants to make, and they're so good, and you got to see that. You just got to see it. So, do I think that this movie is like top tier echelon of Scorsese films? I think that, it's probably right below the top echelon of Scorsese films, meaning like it's probably going to be below Goodfellas. It's going to be below Wolf of Wall Street. It's going to be below for me, Irishman. Like, probably right below Irishman. I would say that it would be higher than Casino, because I think Casino is not as good as Killers. And top echelon, I forgot, is Departed. That's up there as well. That movie's incredible and has always been incredible. But I think it's just right below top tier Scorsese. So if Goodfellas, and for me, if Goodfellas, Wolf, and Departed is S tier, then I think that an A tier would be Irishman and Killers. And then B tier for me would be Casino and I mean, I'm probably going to get some hate for this one. B tier would also have Gangs of New York. I'm just not a big fan of that film. I'm just not. So yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon. I reviewed it on Twitter. I'll review it here. I'm going to give Killers of the Flower Moon a 9.5 out of 10. 9.5 out of 10. Not my favorite of his films, but definitely a film that is totally, absolutely worth watching, because this is why we go to the movies. This is why we go to the movies. To see these stories play out, and fantastic filmmaking, very little effects, very little, minor gripes. There was like a couple scenes that had some pretty bad choreography, I think. There was like a scene where someone is getting stabbed, and the stabbing does not look like it's real. Like, it looks like it almost mirrors the scene of when Robert De Niro's character in The Irishman is stomping a guy on the curb, but is, it filmed in a way where, like, obviously they're not going to have him stomp on the person, so they have him stomp on the curb that's, like, in line with the guy's stomach, but it clearly he's stomping on the curb, and it's like he's faking that he's getting stomped on the stomach, and you can full on tell that he's not. It was a scene like that, similar to that, with a knife, and where someone was getting stabbed, and it just kind of looked like, oh, that's not real, that's fake. Like, that would be my one, like, gripe. That's it, though. It's such a nitpick, and yeah, that would be about it, though. Like, that's about it. But again, Killers of the Flower Moon, 9.5 out of 10. Go check it out. All right, moving on to some sports. Talk a little bit about sports. Haven't done that in a while. I'm going to shift a little bit from football right now. Talking a little bit about baseball. Now, I have not talked about baseball since the Dodgers were eliminated from the postseason contention by the Arizona Diamondbacks, and now I will be talking about how the Diamondbacks have miraculously made their way to the World Series, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I'm just as shocked as all of you are that pretty much the bottom seed of the National League has made their way all the way, to the World Series. And they will be playing. Who do you think they'll be playing? Yeah, Astros, the Rays, the any good team? No. Or team that's expected to make their way there? No. They will be playing the Texas Rangers. So the World Series is set, and it's going to be the Texas Rangers versus the Arizona Diamondbacks. And got to give it to baseball, right? A matchup nobody was expecting. Nobody was, actually, thinking that could possibly happen. The way the Diamondbacks were playing this year, you never would have thought that they would make their way all the way to the World Series. But here they are. They're about to face the Texas Rangers. What actually sickens me, for real, what sickens me, is that the Texas Rangers will be doing it with manager Bruce Bochy yet again. That's right, Dodger fans, Giants fans, the one and only Bruce Bochy, the man who took the San Francisco Giants to 3 World Series championships. The only person, I think, that has won every elimination game that he has ever been in is Bruce Bochy, or at least winner-take-all games. Bruce Bochy has done that. He is the man. At the moment, he is the man. The first season back coaching baseball, managing MLB, he's got himself all the way back to the World Series. This guy might be just the god of baseball. He has had some down years for sure, but when he's on, he's got his team in the World Series. And if history is to repeat itself, he's never lost a World Series, so I guess what's going to happen is the Texas Rangers are going to win the World Series. Now, I wouldn't be so quick on that. I know the prophecy. I know the way that this works. I know the storylines. Bruce Bochy never lost in a World Series as a manager. I get that. But the way the Diamondbacks are playing baseball right now has me a little worried about that. Has me concerned for sure. Now, the Diamondbacks, they've been playing some pretty, good baseball. As much so as I have grown to hate them. I've grown to hate the Arizona Diamondbacks because not only one have they disrespected me and my Dodgers, well, mainly my Dodgers disrespected me, but they disrespected the Dodgers, and they disrespected, everyone's prediction and where they should be. They essentially flipped the script and went all the way, and they've been playing some really good baseball. Let's give them credit. This kid, Corbin Carroll, has been playing so lights out for like this entire postseason that's been borderline annoying to watch him play. Now, I had not been watching baseball since the Dodgers had flamed out in the NLDS, so the game on Tuesday that I watched, the Game 7 of the NLCS, was my first game back watching. And I had just been getting like alerts and who's been winning and maybe catching some highlights, but I actually watched that game almost entirely, and they piss me off. They're so good, and they're so dialed in that it pisses me off so much because they are that good. Like, they are so good. Like, I thought that the Phillies would at least shut them up, and they did for a few games. Like, they had weren't they up 2-0 on the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks kind of clawed back, and then the Phillies were up 3-2, and then the Phillies actually ended up losing both games in Philadelphia to close out the series. And then you got stories like Bryce Harper showing up to Game 6 in all black, funeral attire, and then you got Nick Castellanos showing up in a Jordan jersey, like, I'm going to show up, and then nothing happened. I honestly hate when players do that. I hate when they decide to go all freaking in and just wearing all black like a funeral, like we're going to be sending this team home or to the grave, essentially, right? And they just can't do it, right? They think they lost that game 5-1, and you can't do that. Because if you're going to be wearing that stuff and you're going to be talking the talk, you got to back it up. You have to back it up, because then it looks like the stupidest thing that you could have done. And knowing baseball players, by the way, they are the most superstitious athletes I think that are on the planet. You would think that they wouldn't want to do that type of stuff. Give you a little bit of bad juju, set your team up for failure. Like, you don't want to be the person to do that. And I just think that, when teams do that, when they kind of set themselves up not for failure, but to look like fools, it honestly just hurts every single time I see it. It's like they're punching themselves in the face when they do that. It's not really something that I'm a fan of. And when they do it and they look like fools, it's just like, well, why did you do that? Why did you do that? I was thinking to myself, seeing alerts like Bryce Harper is in all black tonight, or Nick Castellanos is wearing the Jordan jersey. Like, bro, what are you doing? Like, this is not going to end well for you. And I'm sure that the Phillies thought that they were going to win that game, that they were going to crush the Diamondbacks. But the Diamondbacks had other plans, bro. They were like, nah, fuck that shit. We're going to beat the Phillies in their home stadium at the bank, is what they call it. And let me tell you, they did. And I was watching that game 2 nights ago, the Game 7. And, Arizona jumped on them pretty quickly. It was 1-0 at the top of the first. And then the Phillies were punching back. The Phillies only scored off of the first one. The first run they had was a home run, solo home run. After that, they had a RBI double, I think. And after that, nothing. Nothing big from Schwarber. Nothing big from Harper. Nothing big from Turner. Only players who did anything was Alec Baum and Bryson Stott. That was it. Nothing from Harper. I mean, that's going to be, a game where he looks back and is like, what happened to me? Nothing from Nick Castellanos. When they were getting Zach Wheeler warmed up to pitch, they were getting desperate. Like, at that point, it was like, uh-oh, these boys are in trouble. Like, this is truly a win or go home. It's all or nothing at this point. So it's like, if they're going to bring out their game one starter, right, then truly, like, their bats are not connecting with the ball. Like, their hitters are just not connecting, and that this is not going to end well. So it sucks to see that the team that did beat you in the NLDS, meaning beating me in the NLDS, is going on to the World Series. Because when I look at these games that the Arizona Diamondbacks played and how they played and who they beat, and seeing how even the Phillies took it to Game 7, and I'll admit they blew a lead, they blew it, but still, watching these games, even like Ranger Suarez, like in Game 7 against the Diamondbacks, how many innings that guy went, only allowing like 2 runs. I don't think that anybody even on the Dodgers pitching staff could have done that. Like, I don't think that we had the capability to do what the Phillies even did. Even though the Phillies blew it at the end, they still managed to compete with the Diamondbacks. Like, we didn't even compete with them. We didn't even try with them. We couldn't do anything with them. And seeing just how the Diamondbacks were able to defeat the Phillies in Philadelphia, like, it was just like, oh my God, how did this happen? Some people are clamoring that the baseball postseason is a broken product because we're getting all these teams that are the number 1 seeds, that are the best teams in the league, best teams overall in the regular season, and then they all flame out. And then what do we have left? The Diamondbacks and the Rangers? Like, oh, hell. Like, what happened? How did this happen? Now, with us, with the Dodgers, it's easy. We had no starting pitching. Clayton Kershaw's got to go, and then nobody else could pitch after that. So that's that. And, everyone else just kind of, like, underachieved. And, like, it almost seems like the teams that are underseeded, at least in baseball, just play better, play harder. I think it's because the better teams kind of play down to the opponent, and when they do that, they get fucked. They lose a lead, or they get behind big, then they kind of panic. They go into panic mode. They're like, well, we should be beating these teams, so let's go beat this team. And that whole mindset is just not something that you need when you go face these teams, because you need like the killer instinct to go in and be like, take them out. But obviously they didn't have that, and it was just a bloodbath, at least for the Dodgers. I don't know if they're broken though. I think that the teams that are good in the postseason are just the hot teams, and you just can't stop them. And when bats go cold, like when players like lose their confidence and just can't hit the ball, it lasts for a long time. Like players go through like month-long slumps where they just can't hit a thing. Like, I think I even told you guys this on like a few weeks ago. Like, Mookie Betts did not get a single hit in the NLDS, and that's just unacceptable. But it probably was just a big old slump that he was just going through, and he just could not, get through it. He just couldn't battle through it. Freddie Freeman had 1 hit, and it was just an infield hit, and that was it. He couldn't actually believe it. They just couldn't make contact with the ball right, and that, I guess, that's also just how it goes. And we get a pitcher that's just unhittable. It's just like, good luck. There's nothing at that point that you can do. So yeah, that's just baseball though. That's just how it goes. Moving on, though. Moving on. Last topic of the day. Going back to it. The NFL. The NFL. And I guess my fantasy team. We could talk about that as well. We'll talk about that first. My fantasy team is actually doing okay. Not the best. Kind of in the middle of the pack. And right now I'm 4-3. Pretty sure like last year I was like at this point maybe I was like 1-6 or maybe 2-5 at this point last year. So I'm doing much better, this year. I actually had the opportunity to win this past week. I had so many players that just did not play well at all. They shouldn't even play, essentially. Last week I started Calvin Ridley. Should not have done that. He only got me 1.5 points. 1.5. That was it. I started the Detroit Lions kicker. No points. 0. So pretty much 2 players that just didn't do anything, and I lost by a total of 4 points. So you think about it. If Calvin Ridley had like maybe 2 more catches, if my kicker would have had at least like 2 field goals, maybe a couple extra points, I would have probably won this game. And the fact that I lost by 6 points in this fantasy matchup is actually kind of kills me. If I'm being completely honest, it's not a good feeling. You look back on it and you're like, wow, I was actually closer, much closer than I thought I was. And then, I kind of, I'll be honest, before the match even started, I was projected to lose big time. The fact that I only lost by 6 points, though, breaks my heart. But also, at the same time, I'm like, man, this probably won't happen again. But then again, guy I'm going up against this week has got probably the best fantasy team that you can possibly imagine at the moment. Let me just run you his lineup right now, because it's actually unbelievable what this guy is running with this week. I think he might be the best drafter or the best guy to pick up players. I mean, it's just incredible. This is his fantasy lineup. Quarterback is Justin Jefferson. Wide receivers are Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams. Sorry if you hear the car in the background. Someone's, I don't know. Running back, Alvin Kamara and Isaiah Pacheco. Tight end is George Kittle. He's got 2 flexes, Puka Nacua and Zay Flowers. And his kicker is Younghoe Koo. And his defense is Baltimore. Now, honestly, looking at that is probably the most trendy and just the hottest players right now in the NFL at this point. I don't know how this guy was able to get Puka Nacua and Zay Flowers. How is that even legal, man? How the fuck did this guy end up with Puka Nacua and Zay Flowers? And those are his flexes. Now, I'm not sure if every league is different. You might only have 1 flex. But in this league, we have 2 flexes, and he's got the best flexes you can ever fucking imagine. I mean, and his tight end is probably the best. His running backs are not bad. I mean, his running back is actually questionable. And so is Tyreek Hill, so that actually might be a good thing. Because this motherfucker, Tyreek Hill, is projected to get 20 points. Are you kidding me? I'm actually kind of thinking that I might actually bench Calvin Ridley because of what he did to me last week. That is just unacceptable. But I'm also in the predicament. I think that, because I was scared about my running backs, I ended up picking up Kareem Hunt last week. That ended up to be, okay. But I'm thinking to myself, what if I decided to put in Kareem Hunt instead of James Cook? Because James Cook has been playing pretty mediocre this season, if I'm being completely honest. And I would need David Montgomery to come back healthy, to play, for me this week. Hopefully he does. But, just throwing it out there. Like, this guy's, team that I'm facing is just fucking incredible. Like, even his quarterback, who's not very good, is still, a pretty good fantasy quarterback. Let's be real. But the fact that he's got Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Alvin Kamara, Pacheco, Kittle, Nakua, Flowers. Are you like fucking for real? This almost seems unfair. This guy's team is almost unfair. So, I got my work cut out for me this week. I'll be honest. I got my work cut out for me. I think that I can pull it out. I truly do. I hope I can. I mean, Jesus Christ. I being down, losing last week by only 6 points, truly makes me, not as, my team can score when they can. Like, I have Lamar Jackson. He had the best probably game of his life last week. So I'm not totally decimated, but I'm definitely like worried just because of how good his team is. But he has 2 players that are questionable, that are pretty high scoring players. So if one of them doesn't do very well because of they're injured, or maybe they don't even play, that's good for me. But then again, his bench is kind of fucking lit too. So it's like, oh my God, this is going to be a tough battle. It's a tough battle either way. But moving on to some NFL games. I'm going to talk about next week, week 8, which is crazy that it's already here. Week 8, not really necessarily being the midpoint of the season, because now we have 17 games, which adds another week for buys and all that. So not quite at the midway point of the season, but I guess, we can kind of chalk it up to be the halfway point of the season. Some games that are coming on that I want to talk about, give you some predictions of what's going to happen, even though they won't matter when the game's played, because, no one's ever right, really. Buccaneers at Bills. I mean, as bad as the Bills have looked this season, and they've looked pretty bad, I don't really think that the Bucs and Baker Mayfield are going to do that much, because I don't think that Baker is the right quarterback to work in that Buccaneer system and what they got going on down there. I honestly think that I don't know any team that could work in that current Buccaneer system, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, the year before that, Tom Brady was struggling in that, having probably the worst season of his entire career, possibly. And they barely made the playoffs last year. I think they were actually 9-8, barely made it. But I'm going to go with the Bills. Even though the Bills are struggling right now, they're not playing very good football. I still think that I would take the Bills at home over the Buccaneers. Next game, Texans at Panthers. Frank Reich is no longer going to be calling the plays in Carolina starting this week. So that is going to be a little bit different, in terms of what we've seen out of the Panthers this year, because Bryce Young, let's be honest, has not been looking like the number 1 pick. It's actually been his opponent this week has been looking better, CJ Stroud, and with the Texans this year actually been looking pretty good. I think he's had like maybe 1 interception. This isn't his entire rookie season, so he's looked pretty damn good, pretty solid as a quarterback. Pretty good starting quarterback right now. And I think the fact that we're not going to know exactly how it's going to go for Bryce Young this coming week might be an advantage for the Texans, because Frank Reich won't be calling the plays. That's what I've heard. But I still think that the Texans, to me, seem like they're a much better coached team than the Panthers. So I'm going to go with the Texans in this game. Rams versus Cowboys. Oh, man. Well, the Cowboys, coming off their bye, have not looked invincible, after their loss against Arizona, and then against what is it? The 49ers just getting decimated, and then barely beating the Chargers. I think we'll give them a run for their money. I think we'll actually be competitive. I think that we can actually beat these guys too, even though it's going to be in Dallas. So it's, whatever. We never have a home game anyways, because everyone freaking fills up SoFi with the opposing team. So, But as a Rams fan, I'm going to go with the Rams. I think that they can beat them. I think that Matthew Stafford is overall a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. And I think that he's going to be able to get the ball to his receivers while Dak cannot. So I'm going to go with the Rams over the Cowboys. Vikings Packers. I think that the Vikings are clawing back pretty good. I mean, they just beat the 49ers on Monday night. Obviously that Niners team was without Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams, so that was kind of a big blow for them. But I think that the Vikings are finding ways to win games, at least for now, without Justin Jefferson. And I think that the Packers are just not a very good team and don't have a very good quarterback. So I'm going to go with the Vikings over the Packers. Saints, Colts. Honestly, the Saints are probably one of the most boring teams to watch right now. They have absolutely no identity and no offense that is worth a damn. And the Colts, honestly, without Anthony Richardson, actually have a little bit more flair with Gardner Minshew and have the ability to really blow up a game with their receivers. And now that Jonathan Taylor is back and actually producing well, I think that I'm going to go with the Colts on this one. I think that the Colts at home are actually going to, I think are actually favorites over the boring-ass Saints. Patriots, Dolphins, listen, the Patriots just beat the Bills. Do I think that the Patriots are actually good? No, I think the Bills are kind of in a weird funk right now. I think that they just kind of can't really get that offense to be completely humming, and they left too much on the table. The defense of the Patriots actually look pretty good with intercepting Josh Allen. And, once Josh Allen is getting some interceptions, he's not really playing to his full potential, and, he can't really do the things that he's known for. So with that game, I'm going to go with, the Dolphins have lost 2 in a row as well. No, they haven't lost 2 in a row, but they haven't been playing that well too recently, but this game is in Miami. I think that, the home field is going to help them out. I think that's going to help them out as well. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins over the Patriots. Jets, Giants. This is tough because Tyrod Taylor played pretty well last week, and the Jets are coming off their bye. I do think that the Jets or the Jets are playing better. They're playing much more better than we thought that they would. Zach Wilson has not been terrible, and I think that if he's able to, play well, he might be able to get a win for them over the Giants. So I'm going to go with, this is going to be, probably out of pocket or, out of the ordinary, but I'm going to go with the Jets over the Giants. Jaguars, Steelers. The Steelers, to me, still don't have a very good complete offense. I think that they kind of, go along the game and then kind of find magic on the way and kind of actually, start to play well when the game's about to end and when it's pretty much no time left on the clock. So I'm going to go with the Jaguars anyway, because I think that the Jaguars are just a better team. They can run the ball so much better, I think, than the Steelers can. I think that the run game for the Steelers has been pretty much not even there. So I'm going to go with the Jaguars because I think that they'll be able to run the ball early, get a big lead, and I don't think that the Steelers have the offense or that capability to come back and beat them. So I'm going to go the Jaguars over the Steelers. Falcons and Titans. I think the Falcons are pretty good. They're not the greatest team in the NFC South, but I think that they do have the capability with the talent that they have on their team with Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts. It all kind of depends if the quarterback is able to make those plays. And at the moment, I think Ryan Tannehill is still out, so they're going to probably have to rely on Derrick Henry. And I don't really trust that because Derrick Henry has not really looked that great this year. But I'm going to go with the Falcons over the Titans. Next game, Eagles, Commanders. The Commanders right now are not in a good place. They haven't been playing very inspired football. They don't really seem to me that they have much of a direction of what they're trying to do over there. Every time I watch their games, whenever I see them on Red Zone, I never see any real emotion from the coaching staff there. They don't seem like a very good, well-coached team. And the Eagles are just like a great team, great overall, and great coached. So I'm going to go with the Eagles over the Commanders. Browns, Seahawks. Seattle has been playing very, very well. The Browns have been finding ways to win. I think that in this game, being in Seattle and Deshaun Watson, I think is going to be out this game. I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks over the Cleveland Browns. Ravens, Cardinals. I think that the Ravens are playing some of the best football out there, some of the best offensive football. I think that Lamar Jackson has been playing out of this world these past few weeks. And the Cardinals, to me, have come back to earth, like fully come back to earth. They're just not good. And they're waiting for Kyler Murray to come back. Like, it was cool when you all beat the Cowboys the way that you did, but now that that's done, and they're kind of just back to who they were. So I'm going to go with the Ravens over the Cardinals. Chiefs, Broncos. The Broncos are like still like one of the worst teams in the NFL. Russell Wilson is not looking good. It's actually like looking like one of the most stupidest and pointless trades that have ever been made in the NFL's history. That it just looks bad. Like no way to put it. Like the way that this trade has ended up of letting Russ cook. I remember seeing that all last year. Let him cook. Well, we've let him do something for this long. He's not cooking. He's not cooking at all. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs over the Broncos. A few more games. Bengals, Niners. Dude, if the Bengals can beat the Niners right here, then they're still alive. They're alive. It looks like that, Brock Purdy is actually going to be missing this game because of not being cleared out of concussion protocol, which was broken, yesterday by Adam Schefter. Like, wait. When was he concussed? Was this in practice? There was no other information besides that, as far as I've checked. Just that he did not clear concussion protocol. So he had to have gotten injured on, the game, the Monday night game versus the Vikings. And, that's got people chatting and the conversation has been going and, information is, crazy right now. But it looks like they're going to be starting Sam Darnold. And, this is going to be the first time we see Sam Darnold start like a game since like last year. And this is going to be under the Shanahan offense. So this is going to be an interesting matchup. If the Niners can pull it out and get the win, then they're still solid. They're still good. But if the Bengals can kind of come back and get a win here, that's going to be dangerous for the AFC and who's going to be challenging. They'll be climbing the ranks in the AFC. So I'm going to go with the. I still think Sam Darnold is a good quarterback and even a better quarterback in the Shanahan offense. So I'm going to go with the Niners over the Bengals. But if the Bengals do win, it's going to be pretty shocking. Bears, Chargers. This is on Sunday night. Well, what a terrible game for Sunday Night Football. I'm going to go with the Chargers because I think that, Justin Fields is still going to be out. So, Justin Herbert's got to have a good game, somewhere. Like a good dominant game. Like this has got to be the game where he has like a good dominant, throwing the ball all over the place game. Right? This is the game to do it, I think. So I'm going to go with the Chargers over the Bears. Monday night game, last game, Raiders, Lions. The Lions look pretty awful in Baltimore last week. Pretty damn awful. Like unrecognizably bad. Just terrible. But they were playing the Ravens. Now they're playing the Raiders. I think that, if the Raiders decide to, I don't know if Jimmy G's going to be back or what, but if they have Jimmy G, they have a chance to beat the Lions. If not, they have no chance. I think that what happened to the Lions last week was probably a fluke, and they'll be back, ready to go this week and probably be pissed off and play angrily. So I think I'm going to go with the Lions over the Raiders for Monday Night Football. That's the last game, and that's going to be it for me today. People, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review. You can find this podcast at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. This podcast drops every Thursday morning. Again, like I said, make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, do all that good stuff, comment, share, do all that. And yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next week.